We're going to start with a short clip from Left Behind, Before and After the Rapture, September 23rd, 24th, 2017, from The End Times Are Here. This news anchor is going to throw it to a field reporter who's got a Catholic priest with a red necktie on, saying some pretty interesting stuff. So I thought we would see how it goes for just a minute and talk about it.
I have with Bishop Messager. Bishop, can you explain any of this?
Today, the human race has grown up. We have entered the age spoken of in the scriptures and recorded on the cornerstone of the United Nations, where it says, "All will dwell secure, and none shall make them afraid." It may not seem like that now, because evolution is never easy. It is always chaotic as the old dies away to make way for the new.
Are you suggesting that those people who have vanished have something in common?
The Bible, a work which always speaks of the ultimate triumph of the human spirit, told us that one day the tares would be removed from the wheat so that the wheat could grow. Today, we have fulfilled that prophecy. We must come together now in one faith that recognizes the beauty and fragility of Mother Earth. The age of destruction and division is gone. The age of peace and unity is here.
What the Bible spoke about concerning human evolution has been spoken of by great leaders of all religions in years gone by. The fact is, while this is startling, tremendously startling, this is not a surprising event.
Bishop Messager made mention of the same thing. But how does this tie in with evolution?
We are gods.
Further observations have confirmed that although we are uncertain of its origin, it is definitely not a craft of our own. We now have a radio contact with Explorer.
Action there. No, just push it through.
We're losing video.
Just push it through. We'll take what you've got.
They told us there was a God who would protect us from the unknown. But where is that God? Their vision was not of this earth, so they have been removed from it. But you are chosen. I will lead you.
Okay, that was plenty corny. To get some derivation, proper credits here, End Times Are Here. And then he goes into a gigantic Muslim rant. Times like 1,000 comments. And everything's on point. Everything's on point. It just seems a little aggressive, and that there's a lot of information to take in. It doesn't seem so productive. But I'm going to hit play on this for a second. The reason I was writing words all over that stuff, I just feel like there's really no way for a person who's taking the ice luge into the New World Order to really get any sort of sense on how deep inside of the media bubble they are. The news anchor is such, he plays a good character, everything here is super cheesy. See, I told you whenever I do a recording, it won't go. Which is fair, whatever. You can kind of see down here. This guy, there's one guy here who shows up when she's on the street, and he says, "My wife told me this would happen. Oh my God, I've been left behind." And then they take her from one moment where she's like in total terror, and the next thing you know, she's doing an on-the-street interview. It's all cheesy, and that's what we get. And then these guys were talking after it. It was actually only a little bit. And then these guys spoke, and I didn't listen to a single word. And it looks as though we're not going to get anything. Looks like nothing. We're getting nothing. Let's leave this for a second. We're not going to get anything more out of this. But over here, these are some Rapture movies. There's a movie in the 70s called The Thief in the Night. There's all sorts of movies that have been done on the Rapture. Like a very show. And I don't mean ones like this geeky one either. There's a lot of them. Hollywood movies. I remember the first thing I really read was the Left Behind series. And honestly, it was just like this. And so this is my point here, is that we're in this void. For 2,000 years we've been looking at the book of Revelation, and then we made the ability to create movies and things. And what's the one story you haven't really seen ever made? Well, the book of Revelation. Well, why is that? That's because all the movies are about the book of Revelation. And I'll explain that one day. We've had so much time to kick this story around. There's nobody that's confused about what's happening next. Only the people who are fooled. But it's not their fault. We all were. It is what TV and radio and media were created to do. Was at this time mount up a gigantic deception. And here's my further point on this. If we think about media deception from beginning to end and say, oh, they did the JFK thing and then we got all the false flags nowadays, I don't think that they're doing anything besides prepping all this time, getting ready for that moment after the rapture, when the only thing that's really going to keep people deceived is the media. And that's why I thought this was a good clip, because it shows how they're going to do it. They're the same way they do it now, man.
As it becomes available. We are now able to go to our reporter, Julie James, in Atlanta. Can you hear me, Julie?
We're live, Julie.
Here she is, terror.
We're live.
Yes, Richard, things here are completely out of control. No one has been able to explain the disappearance of what seems to be the major portion of the population of this city. Terror is the only way to describe the scene. Terror and absolute panic. It's like a real live horror movie. People don't know who or what they're dealing with. It's an enemy you can't see.
Sounds so cheesy. An enemy you can't see. Like the invisible God.
Deep sense of loss and grief. I've been talking to many people today who are trying to deal with the fact that someone they love is missing. Each person has their own tragic story to tell.
High production value in here. We got extras, and street smoke. This guy, yeah, he's lost.
When did you first discover that your wife was missing?
My wife called me from my daughter's house. She said she'd be right home. She never got home. She wasn't there. She's gone. My daughter's gone. And the kids, she warned me about this. She said this was going to happen. She told me it would. I've been left behind.
Classic. Classic. This is us, people who might understand the story almost. It's one of two things. Either people who understand the story, trying to use what the devil's been doing to deceive us, like make a movie, and acting. And you can tell the acting's bad and the production's bad, and it's less convincing. Production value is in the convincing. So this is hardly convincing. In fact, it's barely convincing. It's so cheesy and poorly done. It's a miracle they even put a budget together and a bunch of actors to do it. So maybe, in fact, this is one of those things where they keep feeding us the truth in a super cheesy way so that we won't bite it. So sometimes when they make a really cheesy, super bad, tropey flick, that's the one. That's the true story. And they're just making it unappealing. Because it would be very strange that a bunch of Christians got together like this and made a movie. And here's my other point. When it comes to the rapture, there's a few things in the Illuminati, literati, open-handed, show them while we hide them, in plain sight, that they actually put all the way out there in plain sight that they really don't want us to touch. And the rapture is one of them. They talk about it almost like perfectly every time it's mentioned. Most of the obfuscation is around that moment, the going into it and coming out of it. Because dead man tell no tales, we're not going to be there to tell anybody anything. They don't have to put guys like this on TV even. And they're not. Think about it. If you really thought it was from God in that moment, you're going to turn to a TV. Well, everybody that does turn to a TV, this guy on the street, he's not even going to get a moment It's just going to be like this. Normal announcer being scared. Normal anchor losing his mud. And then after all that breaks down, what's going to pop up is like the new CNN. And they're going to have all sorts of money and news everywhere. And they're probably going to be holograms. Just giving you like electronic news and telling you everything's going to be okay. And wait for the FEMA trucks. And if you hear gunfire, it's just nasty Americans holding on to their Bible and their freedom and their guns. And you should let the cops shoot them in the face. And when it comes time, you should just get in the trucks. Stay home. Order all your food from Amazon. We'll have the drones take it over. And just watch TV. Binge watch on Netflix. YouTube TV. So yeah, it's probably going to be moved from TV to like internet. And so everyone's going to be on the internet watching TV. Something like that. And then the media is going to be a whole new beast. Because at that point, man, if you're watching TV and believing everything they say, they got you so far gone, they're going to spin such a web on you. So if you see any news like this happening afterwards, know that most everything they said was about how it's expected to go. As far as anyone can deduce up to this point, there's going to be apostate teachers and preachers coming right up, preaching a one world faith. Then you got this one, after the rapture. You know that word apostasia in the Bible? A better translation for that is departure. The man is saying it could not be revealed unless the departure come first. And if you didn't believe in the rapture, you'd be like, oh, that means departure from faith. But he wasn't talking like that. He was talking to us about hope. The departure. Is it going to be quite like this? No. I don't think so. I think that it's going to go dark. I think that it's going to go very, very dark. Like worldwide eclipse dark. So that anyone who may be a Christian is not going to be on an airplane or in a car after a couple days. I think there's going to be real signs, real imminent signs. And Christians are going to start lighting on fire and acting real strange and just running around. It's not going to be entirely like this. There's going to be areas where there's not a lot of cemeteries within sight and no Christians in land, but that's rare. Most people are going to see the resurrections. You think of it, who on earth is where they can't see a cemetery? But are there going to be raptures happening around them? Are there going to be car crashes? I don't think the Christians are going to be driving around cars, just going through their day on that day. I think most planes are not going to crash, and cars are going to be going where they ought to, because if they're going to be running, they're going to be going by people who have no idea. People who just watch TV and go to work. And as long as there's a job there and a TV there, and they got groceries, in some regard, the world can go to hell as far as they're concerned. So no, I don't think it's going to be so much like that. But it's going to be subtle enough that the spin is going to be big. The spin is going to be big. It's all about the media. It's all about the TV. My only advice would be not to watch any of these movies. If you don't, they're just going to keep turning you away. If you do, well, you're better off going back to where you got the belief in the first place, which is the Bible. But that hope is real. Our hope is very real. This is very apocalyptic. We've been guided towards the apocalypse for so long. I don't think anything's going to be going on. I think the cities are going to stop. I think the roads are going to stop. I think that's why all these delivery drones are popping up. Because I think that after the roads go to poop, it's going to make the only sense. Of course, it's late, we should be doing this already. Amazon just bought Whole Foods. Okay. I want you to do the math on this. Amazon, with its delivery drone services, just bought Whole Foods. Amazon just became an absolute monstrosity. So, I don't know if you shop at Amazon, but if you do, their Google, essentially, their Google Marketplace, like times 1,000. And now they do food. This is a bad sign. We shouldn't be delivering food. We shouldn't be online shopping food. So normally in the old school, this would be like, oh, this is just a big company, and they're going to have a division of kinda, whatever. But nowadays, we know that this is always folding up into unification. So this is, Amazon's going to be delivering food. So if you take all the Whole Foods that are out there right now and you make them shut their doors, and instead you have drones flying out of the shipping centers, it's a whole new world. But not only that, the key there is that things can get very, very farther down the road in terms of degradation of society, and people still get their services to some degree. Is it more expensive? Is it who knows what? It's not really going to be about that at that point. It's going to be about keeping people glued to the TV. And here's the other thing. I was really thinking about this with the internet becoming the TV. If we have something where the infrastructure of the current TV system goes down in some regard, and then YouTube, Google, Amazon people, CNN team up and go, let's just make an internet TV and then unify everything. Because, you know, the big difference in our life right now is that we have multiple screens. But even really the TV is the TV. And that the computer is a computer. The TV is a totally different experience. And people kind of do both a little bit. But if the internet has really no limitation from going onto the TV. And if you can make that a 3D TV and a headset, and now all of a sudden you can watch TV and be on the internet, now you got your mark, and you get your Amazon deliveries, and you're totally finally unified, jacked in. And there's a reason why we haven't unified all that stuff yet, because they're waiting for like the rollout time when it starts to really be something people want and need. I've always been saying that the New World Order was going to have organic food. They're going to start solving a lot of problems. They're going to be very, very appealing. And that's going to be the beginning. Because at some point, it's not going to matter. They're just trying to get you through the transition. Dude, like, as soon as flaming rocks start flying from heaven, you're going to get the deal. And Amazon's not going to be around anymore. This is the end of society. They all know their ending. This is not going to be, they don't have a 50-year plan here. Mayor